So guys, I hope everyone's thrilled and ready to go on a joyride with Michael Scholz, VP of Product and Customer Marketing at commercetools, as he speaks to us today about the power of modern data-centric composable commerce. Come on up, Michael.
Awesome, thank you very much. Thank you. It's almost as full as a Taylor Swift concert. I love it, I love it. It's amazing. So I'll take the next 45 minutes to really talk you through the amazing partnership that we have with MongoDB and how they're powering our composable commerce technology. We are a composable commerce platform, and I'll get to a little bit of the background a little bit later. I think from an opportunity perspective, from a retail perspective, global retail sales is about to grow by 56% to just a little over 8 trillion. And I think the real question here is if the retailers in the room or other industry players that have and feature digital transactions are prepared for what's ahead of them. And so we'll talk about how we as commercetools solve for that with MongoDB. We already talked about this a little bit, and I think I want to get ahead of this very, very early on and why we are selecting MongoDB as our partner in crime, as our trusted advisor. So for us, we actually started out with just MongoDB, and we moved very, very quickly to MongoDB Atlas. Because for us, we don't want to be the custodian of data. We want to focus on what's important to us, which is commerce, and we want to work with an ecosystem of technology partners that just do what they do best, that are best of breed and best in class in their particular fields. The other thing why we wanted to collaborate as well is because, same as Mongo, we are cloud native. What that means is we are built in the cloud, for the cloud, we're a first-class citizen in the cloud. And so the same applies to MongoDB because we are also interoperable, whether it comes to GCP, whether it comes to AWS, we can live in that multi-cloud environment. I think overall also the shared ability to grow and shrink as demand requires. Some of our customers are very large telco companies, and when they launch the next iPhone or launch the next Apple virtual reality headset, that is the time when they experience peak, not what we're used to in terms of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Singles Day, you name it. Peak is no longer when you would expect. Peak can happen when an influencer is tweeting about your product or when a product such as the iPhone is being launched. We have another customer, same story. It's not about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's when the next Lego Star Wars plane or kit is being launched. The beauty also is the shared ecosystem that we all have, which is Google Cloud, AWS, some of our great partners like the Accentures, the Deloitte, the Capgems of the world, and also some of the other companies that we work with. The beauty is also the fact that we co-founded the MACH Alliance. The MACH Alliance is effectively a curated independent body that really helps retailers understand what their ecosystem could power and how they use that. And MongoDB is a late addition to the MACH Alliance, which is very, very exciting as well. And again, that stems from that shared philosophy to really fully embracing what a composable commerce architecture can do for you as a retailer, or even if you're in the B2B world as a manufacturer, as a distributor, as a wholesaler. So the beauty is really simple. It's 3 things. It's the flexibility of scaling, up and down, horizontally, vertically. It's about protecting your future business. So it's not only being able to cater to the constant change that we have and the challenges that come with that, but it's also to be future ready. So whether we are driving that change and we're driving that innovation together with MongoDB, or whether we're predicting the challenges that retailers might come in contact with. And again, we want to focus on our business. We're very opinionated when it comes to the fact that we want to focus on commerce and commerce only. We're not a content management system, we're not an order management system, and we don't want to be one. So we want to partner with the best in the business, with the best of breed solutions. The same applies to MongoDB. They need to access and own the data and make it available to us when we and when our customers need it. So those are the 3 tenets really. So I'll go a little bit more into commercetools and what we offer. really sort of defining the term composable commerce, because there's a lot of buzzwords flying around as usual, next to a lot of acronyms as well. And then what is that perfect match? What is that match made in heaven between MongoDB and commercetools? So from a company perspective, we are a composable commerce platform. We are the leading composable platform. And so what we do for our customers is we provide the independent components that our customers require to run outstanding and tremendous customer experience for their customers. And we do that across all touch points. So historically, obviously very much the desktop experience, the web experience, social, mobile, you sort of know that. But think about every sort of touch point that is coming in, that you're coming into contact with. It could be a kiosk at McDonald's or in a stadium or in a concert venue. It could be your point of sale solution as you enter and approach customers like LL Bean. So it's really around providing those independent components to them. And so we have amazing customers, like some of the most iconic brands we call our customers. So think about the Lululemons, the Audis, the BMWs, the Expresses of the world, Ulta Beauty, Sephora. So everything from startup to mid-market, all the way to really like complex and large enterprise customers. And that's very true for retail, but we are also industry agnostic. So whether it's telco, whether it's healthcare, some of these companies or some of these industries we can cater as well. And so for us it's really about unlocking that potential, unlocking those growth capabilities. And the beauty in terms of the way that we are architected and structured is that you can pick and choose. You can literally cherry pick the capabilities that you need to meet your customer requirements or customer demands. A little bit more about us. I joined about 2 years ago when we were just maybe it's kind of like on the verge from startup to scale up with like 300 people. We more than doubled since then. We have offices across the globe. We are at this point in time the highest valued privately held e-commerce company in the world. So even more valued than Hybris before it got acquired by SAP, Demandware before it got acquired by Salesforce, you name it, ATG before it got acquired by Oracle. So a very, very strong position that we are in, and the beauty of that success story and the beauty of our success and our growth is also Mongo. Like we are partners from day one, and we value that partnership. You see, we have more than 500 enterprise customers, a large ecosystem from system integrators, agencies, ISV partners, and again, as I said, across multiple customer profiles. So while the talk may suggest retail, again, we cater to telco, cater to travel, healthcare, you name it. As long as there's a digital transaction in that customer journey, we can cater for that. Also across different business models. So it's not just B2C or B2B or any sort of hybrid. It could be a marketplace. It could be any customer or business model that you may dream up as a company. And the beauty again of our platform is it's one platform. So you don't need to have two platforms, one focused for B2B, one focused for B2C. It's really the beauty that everything stems from one platform. And we have some analyst recognition there as well. And we also coined the term headless, so that's one of the buzzwords that I'm throwing around. But the notion for us is really the decoupling of front and back end, commercetools being the core functional and transaction engine in the back end. And then you have a plethora of different user interfaces, touch points that we can cater to. So it's no longer just the desktop experience. If you look at some of our competition, most of them were created and founded and IPO'd kind of like the mid-late 90s. GCP and AWS didn't really exist back then. The iPhone was built and launched in 2007, so a lot of the companies that were built around that time just focused on one channel and one experience. And I think we can all agree that we have multiple channels that we're shopping through and catering for. So that's really kind of like our claim to fame in having invented Headless. From a portfolio perspective, our core product is Composable Commerce. It really caters to all the different commerce platform requirements from a feature set perspective, everything that you can expect from a product catalog, pricing, promotions, discount, how you model your business in terms of assortments and stores and storefronts and geographies. So all of that is included in that. While we're Headless, we also have acquired a company to really own that front end layer. And it's all about not just being a page builder and putting some storefronts together. It's also like, how can you orchestrate either components that you may have built in a content management system or in a personalization system, but also components that you have built yourself. And the front end portion really allows you to cater to that and orchestrate that. And then if you look at a typical migration project from an e-commerce perspective, the checkout flow is about 65% of that. So we wanted to make sure that we can help our customers really work on simplifying that, automating it, and making it almost like a no-brainer to adopt kind of like these checkout functions. And with this tool, you can put a checkout button on everything. We can put a checkout button on the back of that chair in front of you, and you can check out with a pre-curated card. So think of the applications in like stadiums and concert venues and things of that nature. So the world's your oyster, effectively, is what I'm saying. We already talked about analyst recognition, so I'm gonna skip that. And we're we talked about what we're doing. This is the how. This is the philosophy that we invented, that we came up with. It's all about microservices, API first, being cloud native and headless. Microservices really means that we are encapsulating business capability in these microservices, and it's an API first approach, and that's the protocol that we communicate to these microservices. I already talked about the fact that we're 100% cloud native. We're available on GCP and AWS, and by that notion, we are also tapping into the ecosystem. So whether it's things like BigQuery, Vision AI, whether it's the ecosystem that comes with AWS, or even the ecosystem that comes with MongoDB and MongoDB Search, we can power and log into that very, very nicely. And again, I spoke about the headless portion there as well. And I think from an architecture perspective, the real differentiators are the fact that we're encapsulating these microservices in sort of these business package capabilities, what Gartner calls them. Everything is super reliable and robust. Everything that we do from a commerce tools perspective, and this is all powered by MongoDB, is super scalable, super flexible, super secure, and super robust. And I think that's what we're relying on as we're scaling out. Again, the notion that we're available across multiple regions, across multiple service providers is amazing to us. Even from an SLA perspective, if we're looking at our availability last year in 2022 in Europe, we had 100% uptime. Nobody's going to believe that, but if we're looking at that and we're looking at our GCP instance, we have 100% uptime for GCP and for Mongo. In the US, we had 99.99%, and it's really just a rounding error because Pingdom just measures the 2 digits after the comma there. It's all about high performance, low latency. Everything that we have built with Mongo, or we have built ourselves, or even our customers have built, everything is deployed on our infrastructure and therefore co-located or even on the same cluster as our software. The other notion is also we're completely versionless. There's no notion of upgrades, updates, backwards compatibility. It's all about everyone being on the same release. So there's no issues there, and that actually, from a total cost of ownership perspective, reduces a lot of headache for our customers, because some customers come to us and said, we came to you because we never want to migrate or upgrade again. So when we're really looking at, again, the match made in heaven, commerce tools and MongoDB together, I think we've realized that the only constant is change, and as global markets shift, like the pandemic, energy crisis, supply chain disruptions, the recession, the war, things of that nature, sometimes we don't really know what's about to happen, and it's all about how can we future-proof our software, and how we accomplish that with MongoDB. And so I want to quickly go through 4 flavors or 4 angles. One is about future-proofing your business. The other one is about unlocking revenue. The other one is how can you go to market faster? How can you create that agility, the nimbleness of things? and how can you increase that efficiency all at lower cost. And that's, I think, the key part here. So going through these one by one, future-proof is really the notion that we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what's about to come. We might have additional channels, additional geographies, additional markets, additional touch points opening up. And I think it's all about how can we use our platform that is based on Mongo to adjust and elevate the customer experiences that our customers expect from us. It's all about adaptation, survival of the fittest, right? Like how can you react to these external factors as you develop your roadmap, as you approach your customers. I also think the adaptation is no longer the notion of business versus IT or build versus buy. I think it's really the notion of organizational people coming together, and instead of having a business versus IT conversation, you have a full stack team of everything from merchandising, category managers, business analysts, all the way to QAs and developers and engineers. I think it's a notion of you don't have to buy everything off the shelf that you then spend years and years and years customizing and configuring. Why not build it in the way that you want to from day one? And I think it's all about staying authentic, right? It's about cost, quality, experience, and consistency. And how can you differentiate yourself in any of these elements? And I think there's two approaches, right? You think about omni-channel and what that means to your business and how you have a consistent brand experience across these different channels, or you actually prefer a multi-channel approach, which I think in a lot of ways, given omni-channel, is almost frowned upon. But I think there's instances where you want to go after a specific segment, after a specific customer profile in a very, very different message or in a very different brand tone and voice to these customers. The beauty of this platform is that you can stay authentic and you have the world as your oyster effectively. You can focus on a multi-channel approach, or you can focus on a omni-channel approach. That's the first angle that I want to talk about. The second one is all about unlocking revenue. So it's all about focusing on your customers. It's all about how companies can improve their customer experience in a true omni-channel or multi-channel fashion, exactly what I was just saying before, and how can you make it frictionless. And it's all about the power, the performance, the SLAs, right? We've heard about shopping cart abandonment rates, the drop off when you don't deliver in time, the ability to shop across different channels. So I think as long as you focus on your customer, you can unlock that growth. Expansion, right? I mean, sometimes we think about expansion just growing in one direction. I think this could be anything. It could be acquisitions, it could be opening a new storefront, it could be opening a new channel, it could be going into a different geography, a different market, could be a completely different product set. And I think you have the ability with this one platform to really launch new brands and new markets and try out new business models. We have a lot of customers that have joined or merged or hybrid business models. They may start out for B2C, but then they're realizing, you know what, there's actually another marketplace component to it. Or you are a B2B manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, and all of a sudden you want to go direct to consumer. How can you do that with multiple platforms out there that claim to cater for those? And our, again, claim to fame is here really, we can do that with one platform. Because at the end of the day, under the hood, for us it's just an API call. So when you request that API response, we're going to deliver that to you in sub 20 milliseconds. We don't really care whether it's in a B2C environment, whether it's a B2B environment, whether it's on a marketplace, whether it comes from a kiosk or a mobile device. Doesn't really matter to us. We are just looking at matching our SLA. And the other thing is around optimization. Like how can you drive revenue and an opportunity for customers to engage with your brand consistently, and how can you use promotions, discount to really drive that across your overall strategy to unlock revenue. So this is the second part. The third part is really how can you leverage the groundbreaking technology that we have here. I spoke about being reliable. I think again, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Singles Day, Mother's Day, those are still the typical spikes that a retailer especially would experience. But again, we have retailers and other companies that have spikes or seasonal peak when they launch the new iPhone, when the new Lego set is coming out, when there's a new, I don't know, foundation in your mascara coming up from Sephora, right? So there's different, very, very different seasonality and peaks, and we want to be able to cater to those. That's why we're sitting on GCP and AWS, that's why we're sitting on MongoDB, and we want to provide that frictionless experience. The other thing is also we want to move fast. Everything that we do is about incremental innovation and how can you unlock that. If you look at our competitive environment, everything is pretty much either outdated technology or it's a black box type scenario. So it doesn't really give retailers the ability to move fast and act fast and add new channels and things of that nature. So it's really about launching in a few days as opposed to a couple of weeks. We just recently did a total economic impact study with Forrester, and we found out that something that historically has taken 4 months only takes 1 month in terms of development time with commercetools. So that's a reduction of 75%, and that means that you can have 3 months of resources and investment into other innovative value-adding abilities and capabilities. So I think that's very significant. The other beauty of this platform and this approach is also you can retain talent. We have a lot of SDKs, we're tech agnostic, so it's not like you have to let go and fire a lot of your IT or system integrators or agencies. Effectively, you can retain your talent because the investments that you've made, the enablement, the training, the coaching, they can still use because we have SDKs that effectively allow you to work with all the different cloud infrastructure providers as well as all the software programming languages. And I think coming to a close from this particular angle, it's all about lowering TCO. And I think if you have talked to a vendor in the past, usual sales reps will come to you and will always want to, I guess, show you the lowest number under the line of the proposal that you're putting in front of you. A TCO analysis is only as good as the person that is calculating it and providing it. But I think what we found here, and again, this is proven by Forrester, is really that we can make those, we can create those increases in efficiency and also lowering costs at the same time. So whether that's actual infrastructure costs, whether it's training costs, whether it's licensing costs, whether it's cost related to maintenance, updates, upgrades, things of that nature, there's a long list of things that we're fundamentally resolving and removing from the equation, making it a very much lower total cost of ownership. It's also about de-risking a lot of things, right? Like we think in a way, sometimes our APIs are commodities, not necessarily with the negative connotation of what a commodity is and that it's cheaper, because what we are running at scale and with the robustness is magic in and of itself, but nobody should be out there building their own promotions engine, their own shopping cart, their own order object, or their own product catalog. So I think this is the notion, again, build and buy, where you can take some of our APIs and build this very, very succinctly and rely on the SLA that we're committing to then de-risk a lot of the either custom built applications or something that you want to outsource from your kind of like legacy monolithic application to begin with. And then I think we also already talked about the optimization aspect of it, making those resources available now that you can go to market faster, you can launch features faster. And by the way, you don't have to redeploy the entire commerce platform when you want to make a change. It's really about, if you want to make a change in your product catalog, that product catalog team can do that by themselves, redeploy it, test it if they need to, but without actually having to redeploy the entire commerce platform there. So again, what we want to really look at is the perfect match, how modern data-centric commerce works and how data supports that. I think it's all about iterating quickly. It's the notion of unlimited scale. So I started this talk really about scalability, flexibility. It's the unlimited scale. And the unlimited scale, it's not just about making more money like we all want to do. It's about how can you grow horizontally, vertically, into different markets, into different brands. How can you acquire different brands and make them part of this opportunity here? I think the other notion is really empowering our customers to run everywhere. So it goes back to the opportunity with MongoDB to run on a multi-cloud environment, whether you choose GCP or AWS or any other cloud provider for that matter. Even if you were to choose commercetools on one of those cloud infrastructures and then choose to deploy something on Microsoft Azure, for example, because you have a contract with them, because you have a commitment with them. So all of that is possible, and I think we talked about the cost-efficient approach to build better apps very, very quickly. I think, again, just going back through some of these concepts here, I think it's about flexibility, scalability. Everything is very robust, everything is very secure, and we're basing everything on GCP, AWS, and MongoDB to really meet that demand and help our customers achieve flexibility and that scale. We talked about the seasonal demands, we talked about Headless, and I think it's really the notion on how can you use some of these microservices, that functionality to build out self-contained components, either using our software or building them yourself, so you can react quickly to new abilities like NFTs, crypto, virtual reality. I think from a bullshit bingo perspective, artificial intelligence that we have heard about so many times today. So it's all about how can you deploy a lot of these capabilities while reducing costs and overhead. And I think a lot of the challenges on the left here are really on the notion that we have integrated applications that need to be adopted. We have data analytics issues, personalization issues, because I think a lot of companies that come to us deal with the fact that there's no data hygiene, there's no data quality. And it doesn't help when you want to use something as sophisticated as MongoDB or commercetools to throw it at like an in-memory database, because that just means having shit data faster, and nobody wants that. We really need to have an ability to clean the data, migrate the data, enrich the data. We use commercetools, this very, very flexible data model, to build out the customized experience that our customers want. And then we can talk about AI-powered data analytics, AI-powered personalization, AI-powered everything. And so what we're doing is really providing that sort of production-ready interface. Once we have everything in our database and in the MongoDB database, we can talk about using even generative AI for translations, product descriptions, image generations. I think there's about 2 or 3 applications that I want to share with you today, one being the product catalog. We want to get to a place where, think of Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. They have about 180 brands under their umbrella. Think about how you can use generative AI to describe all of their products by just throwing it at ChatGPT or any sort of generative AI tool and providing a custom brand tone of voice, kind of like style guide, and generative AI creating all of those product descriptions. Because when you, for example, look at Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, Christian Dior has a very different tone and voice than Chanel, for example, or Moet Hennessy. So it's a really interesting approach there. The other thing is we've already used machine learning for the longest time to help import and export products, especially as we first import them, to help our customers be very, very efficient in creating categories, creating types, creating variances for our products. So super, super important and really a time saver when it comes to that. Another way that we want to use generative AI is just really thinking about promotions. I think promotions is kind of like a low-hanging fruit, really thinking about how can we create promotions. I mean, think of Sephora, think of Ulta Beauty, think of like Bed Bath & Beyond, and how many promotions they have, whether you have them as a sticker, as a receipt, as a push notification. How can you stack these? How do these promotions work together? And I think building out what is possible is really, or lies in the art of generative AI to help our business user that way. And again, we can talk about supply chain and logistics. All of those things are things that we're looking at from a MongoDB and commercetools perspective to support these customer challenges, the customer challenges that our customers are facing in this year and beyond. Sorry. I think the notion of this slide is really the notion of multiple products, all of them decoupled. We have multiple roadmaps, and really the notion to what I said before is we have the ability for customers to consume independent components from a technical perspective and from a commercial perspective. You no longer have to go out and buy an all-in-one suite or a monolithic application that comes with everything and then still go out to market to buy a content management system or an order management system and effectively double paying for that. This is really the notion of gathering data across these different data information sources and pushing them out to all the different touch points that you want to cater to. I'll just skip this slide. I mean, this is effectively getting a little bit more technical here, almost like a reference architecture of what a potential solution could look like. Obviously, MongoDB is embedded under the hood, so every customer of ours is also a MongoDB customer. But if you think a little bit further and outside of the box, what commercetools provides, there's a whole world around MongoDB Atlas where Mongo can perform all of these functions and you don't need additional tools. You have your sources, you have your standard connectors, all of that can be pumped into MongoDB Atlas, and we synchronously communicate with MongoDB Atlas to synchronize via APIs. So we don't need any ETL processes. Everything is embedded irrespectively of channels or touch points. Another view of looking at this is kind of like how we work together with GCP, AWS, and other sources. Again, you have your data ingestion, you have those enrichment sources, everything gets pumped into MongoDB, and on the right hand side again you have what we're responsible for, which is the product catalog, the client services, the order management, the actual transactional engine, etc. So as you see, what I'm really excited about it is, and I have been since last year when MongoDB Atlas Search was pushed out, is I think we're already looking at that persistence layer with MongoDB. So far we've been using Elasticsearch, but I think there's a great opportunity to really double down on MongoDB and adopting a lot of the search capabilities. Again, the beauty is that MongoDB in that case is very agnostic to industries, to business models, etc. Because I think fundamentally search is very, very different when you're a B2C company versus a B2B company. Like B2B companies are all about finding things. For B2C companies, it's very much about discovery. So how can you use a very agnostic MongoDB search capability that's inherently built with commercetools and power different industries, different business models, etc. And I think last point on TCO, I just want to come back to that point, is really the notion that with commercetools you almost have a linear sort of line of total cost of ownership there. Because if you compare us to the legacy platforms, you spend a lot of time up front to acquiring and purchasing that. It's usually a big bang approach, whereas with commercetools, it's very much an approach of incremental innovation. And you're looking at again, with some of these legacy vendors, you're looking at a big bang approach. And every feature that you have to build or customize after the fact is an additional cost. You need additional development resources. You also need to look at the testing capabilities, the backwards compatibility. You need to look at your entire stack and need to figure out, do I need a version upgrade? Are there any sort of infrastructure requirements or dependencies? And again, overall, are there any sort of ongoing maintenance issues or security updates that you need to do? And so that's where the commercetools kind of like total cost of ownership approach is much easier to consume, because you can really embark on this crawl, walk, run phase or approach rather than having a big bang approach. And the result is very, very clear to us, and I think it's again data powering composable commerce. We can deploy 3 times faster, we can migrate faster, we have a higher return of investment even in year 1, but certainly in year 3, and we're also lowering the total cost of ownership there. And I just want to leave it with you. If you want to talk after this conversation here, or if you have any questions, these are some of our customers that we're very proud about, but happy to have any questions asked or be spoken to after this presentation. Thank you very much.